Aloha. Very good seeing you. I'm very glad you had a safe trip. You're back and everything's copacetic. One of the things that we were talking about before you left was just like a little bit of rhythm. And as long as we've got a couple songs that we're working on, that's awesome. That means we're influencing theory on the board, like talking about it, using our hands, being like C, E, G, moving the median, putting up the subdominant, saying C, F, G, and then seeing why replacing that makes a chord called a suspended chord. All of these are things we're going to talk about today, and putting them in practical application means that you and I would simply just be able to play these things together. So next time we get together, maybe we should just vamp on the beginning of Akilihine, or Vahine, sorry. Vahine, I think it's a great song. What we learned today is sometimes you can play a chord like an F major and then an F suspension and then eventually go to your chord, and that leads a lower bottom note, which allows you to move around your fretboard. Today's video is going to discuss how to view a major, how to turn that into a minor, and if you want it diminished, being able to do that as well. So one of the really cool things I would like to talk about today is just seeing that all these concepts we put together, we're working on one individually, and then we kind of layer these concepts, and eventually we're going to start making some beautiful music. So today, with our standard tuning of the C, F, C, if we move all these up, it is awfully good knowing that this is C sharp, F sharp, C sharp. When we do this, is going to be D, F sharp, D. Now this kind of has a feeling of being a major already. If we were to put the A note in here and expose it out instead of the other one, like let's say we have our C here, C sharp, D, D goes to F, F sharp, G. So when we're seeing these go through, our G kind of feels like a sus already, doesn't it? I like to play my chords like this F major or this F major, looking at, we can play either one, and then rhythms are created using both. When we go to our C, C sus back. Well, what are we doing on a C sus? We are simply taking the third of the chord, moving the median, and then replacing it with the perfect fourth. This builds tension. The tension that we have isn't overly dissonant. It doesn't, like break glass or anything. It's not one of those where you're like, ooh, that sounds horrible, turn it off. But it is an interesting thing that it takes what is a consonant, pleasing, and then it distorts it, building tension, and resolves it. The whole point is getting used to these feelings. Now this chord of the C major to the C sus, by moving our finger up to the 5th fret on the high C, if we move up one note, we can start experimenting with all the notes that just 2 fingers can play as diads go. So keeping a finger on the 2nd fret, playing with the 4th, playing with the 5th, back and forth. Also, if we move up this and get that augmented note, we're hearing ourselves jumping into that diminished realm, aren't we? So what happens is, there's a great way to see that this chord right here, the F major, can move up and step a whole step to the G minor, A minor. When we go to our, F, G, A, B flat here, moving up another and holding our C, right? After our C, we would have a D minor. Well, I can't just take this and go right here because it would drop back, but I can pull my fingers up here and have my D note when we're playing the F, and then we can move this C, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A. That's a huge stretch, isn't it, to do this? So what I like to do is find this note right here and play them together. Do you see how being able to play like a D minor here after you play your C here? C, D minor. The last thing we would do is use our diminish and move into our major. So right before our diminish, So what we call E diminished is also called a C7, which is why the C chord looks like that. Now, all of this stuff for the SANSHIN is played in individual melodies, and what I want you to do this week is get kind of familiar with how to play the F major, the G minor, and the A minor, and then be able to manipulate the notes in between there, knowing what they are. So let me get really up close and show you a little some fun. If we play our C major, C sus, F, F sus, walk in the bass line, 6, 7 into the 1. Now we're still in F, but this is a different fingering. Moving this up a whole step, and then moving this down a half step. Gives us a G minor. Going back to the F major. Remember, try this in a couple fingerings. Because when you have this triangle here, and you can put a first finger on the 2nd fret, you get a lot more movement and a lot more notes. That's the reason why we use different fingerings. This week, try and get familiar with the F major, the F sus, the C major, the C sus. And frankly, when we're doing this, like if this is our F and this is our F sus, I'm sorry, and this is our F sus and back, then this obviously would be a G sus, G major. The only other thing that we really didn't talk about, and I was going to reserve it for next week, but I think I'll talk about it right now. When you have a major chord, 1, 3, 5 with a major third, all these chords can be called sus chords. You could call it a sus 4, a sus 2, a 6, 9 is essentially a type of sus. But when we do minor chords, you would never call like an A minor sus. That's not a thing. Even though you're using the same note. The whole idea is whenever we do a 9 chord, we're essentially adding in the dominant 7th, because all minor keys would never have a major 7th. They all have a minor 7th. So I'll explain this concept in the beginning of next week, but good job with the board stuff. The big takeaway from that is this, and this is one of our exercises. If we play C, that's our tonic, our root. It's 4 C major, right? If we take this C major and we move up and we get a D minor, that D minor is our minor 2nd. Now that D minor is the 2, but it's not called the minor 2, it's called the major 2. Now it's a hard thing to remember. Our sonority is what makes our triads feel major or minor, or has a major third or has a minor third. The 1, major third. 2, 3, minor third. 4, 5, major third. 5, being the dominant, moves into the 6. The 6 has the minor third, and then the 7th has the minor third. But the beauty about it is there are 3 types of triads in a major key. Major triad, minor triad, and diminished. So when we're playing like our C major, the note that C major would want to go back into would be F, because when we play C major, and we play it as a 7 chord, C7 wants to go back into F major. Absolutely. So next week we're going to talk about some triads. We're going to also talk about the tonic, major 2nd, major 3rd, perfect 4th, perfect 5th, major 6th, major 7th, and then how to see that between 1 and P8, our perfect octave. From that, we'll be able to use maybe our arpeggios. We have our 1 note, let's call it the F. We're going to skip our 2 and go to the 3. So we're going to go from our 1st fret to our 4th fret, and then we're going to go to our 7th fret. So we have F, A, C, F, A, C. And I would love for you to go all the way up to the top 12 to hear that high octave. Go down a half step and realize right before F is E. So to play a major 7 arpeggio, we would have 1, 3, 5, 7, 1, 1, 7, 5, 3, 1, 7. We just don't have that on the SANSHIN below our open string. Very good seeing you. I'm glad you're back. We'll have fun next week. Aloha.